Good morning, children. Today we'll look into the last part of the chapter, separation of substances, and we are going to learn about the different methods to separate a liquid from liquid mixture. The first method used is distillation. Distillation is a process of obtaining a pure liquid from a solution when two liquids differ in their boiling point. So that means the mixture that we are taking in case of distillation, like we said, both the components are in liquid form. But these two liquids which are a part of this mixture, they differ from each other in their boiling point. So we take the mixture in the flask, which is called as distillation flask, and heat them. The liquid or the component number one of this mixture, which has a lower boiling point, it vaporizes first. That means it turns into vapor first on heating, and it is collected in the flask or in the beaker as distillate, whereas the other component of that mixture which has higher boiling point remains back in the distillation flask. Now we have to remember that during this process of distillation, it involves a change of state from liquid to vapor and then back to liquid. As we can see in the picture, it explains the process of distillation. So here we are going to separate water from impure water. So the method required is the impure water is taken in the round bottom flask and the distillation apparatus is set up. The distillation apparatus consists of number one, the round bottom flask. As the name suggests, you can see the picture, it is round in shape, so we call it as round bottom flask. It is the flask where the mixture is taken. It is adjusted to the stand. This round bottom flask is connected to a condenser. Now condensation means change in state from vapor to liquid. So the same work is done by this condenser. Name of this condenser is Liebig's condenser, and which is finally connected to the conical flask, which helps in the collection of the pure water. So the process is we have to heat the mixture taken in the round bottom flask. So like we said before earlier, the principle of distillation is the liquid which has a lower boiling point changes into vapor first. So the water which we are separating, it changes into water vapor first. That vapor cannot escape out through the round bottom flask, so it has to move into the small tube which is present inside the Liebig's condenser. Now in the condenser, the vapor changes into water because of the water in and water out, as you can see in the Liebig's condenser. So that cold water helps in cooling down the vapor and changes it back into water or changes it back into liquid, and that liquid finally is collected in the conical flask. So this water which is collected in the conical flask is known as the distillate, whereas the other component which remains in the round bottom flask is known as residue. So thus pure water is collected in the conical flask and impurities are left in round bottom flask. This distillation process is also used for manufacturing distilled water, which is used in laboratories in making of medicines, etc. The second process is called as fractional distillation. The process of separating the mixture of two miscible liquids using distillation, carried out with the help of a long fractionating column, is called fractional distillation. So in this process, the same method, principle of distillation is utilized. Here we are going to separate two liquids which are miscible, that means which mix with each other, like alcohol and water, milk and water. So these are called as miscible liquids. And the only difference between distillation and fractional distillation is, in this process of fractional distillation, we make use of a long fractionating column. So this process is called as fractional distillation. This picture shows us the process of fractional distillation. So if we can see the picture, the setup is the same, except on top of the distillation flask we have another component which is called as the fractionating column, and it is connected to the condenser, the Liebig's condenser, and of course there is a collector, conical flask at the bottom. So on heating, the vapors of both the liquids taken in round bottom flask are formed. The liquid with low boiling point escapes first and gets separated. It is obtained in conical flask, whereas the liquid having high boiling point remains in the same chamber. Thus, the two liquids get separated. So, the process of fractional distillation also follows the same method, where first the liquid with lower boiling point gets vaporized first and goes up to the fractionating column. From the fractionating column, that vapor of the liquid with low boiling point enters the Liebig's condenser. In the condenser, the vapors are converted to liquid. That means it undergoes condensation, and that liquid is then collected in the conical flask. So here in this picture we have taken a mixture of acetone and water. Acetone is an example of alcohol. So alcohol and water, which are highly miscible, which mix with each other and cannot be easily separated. So for that we have to make use of processes like fractional distillation. The next method of separation is by using separating funnel. Separating funnel, as you can see in the picture, it is a glass funnel. At the bottom it has a stop cork. This stop cork acts like a tap. It helps in the flow of a liquid, and when you close it, the flow stops. Method is used when a mixture consists of two liquids which are not miscible, that is when they do not mix with each other. For example, mixture of water and kerosene, oil or kerosene. So these sort of immiscible liquids are separated using separating funnel. For this process, first the mixture is poured in the separation funnel. Alright, then the liquid which is heavier settles down, and the liquid which is lighter, it comes up. Alright, so that you can see two different layers. So on top you can see the layer of kerosene oil, and at the bottom you can see the layer of water. Now we have to open the stop cork so that all the water flows down through the separating funnel and is collected in the beaker. Then once the layer of water comes down and all the water is collected in the beaker, we close the stop cork and only the kerosene oil is left behind in the separating funnel. So this way we can separate two liquids which are immiscible or which do not mix with each other using separating funnel. The last method is chromatography method. It is a technique used to separate the constituents of a small quantity of a mixture of substances that dissolve in the same liquid. The substance is spread across the paper at different speeds. So if you can see in the picture, the process of paper chromatography is seen. In the first picture, as the start picture, we have taken a filter paper. At one end of the filter paper we have taken a small ink spot which is to be separated, so that's a black ink spot. Now this filter paper is suspended on with the help of a small piece of wood over water, a little amount of water which is taken in the beaker. We have to make sure that only that area, till the area where the ink spot is present, that amount of area is dipped in the water. Then we'll have to wait for some time. Now coming to the end portion of the picture, we can see that because filter paper, it absorbs water. So as the water moves up the filter paper, the ink spot, the black ink spot, actually if you see in the picture, is not just black, not just made up of a single color or a single dye, but actually it is made up of a mixture of different colors. So as the water moves up in the filter paper, the mixture of that ink spot, black ink spot, also moves along with the water on the filter paper, and this process is called as adsorption, that is attachment of molecules of liquids or gases to the surface of another substance. So that means the liquid dye which made up the black ink, it also moves along with the water over the filter paper, the solid substance, and gradually separates. So this process is chromatography method. Some of the terms associated with the process of chromatography. Number one, moving phase. It consists of the substances to be separated. Example, mixture of colored ink. So in this picture, we have the filter paper and we have different spots of different colors which are to be separated. So the spot of the colored ink, that particular spot, is called as moving phase. Number two, stationary phase. It is the substance chosen for separation. It can be filter paper or any other material. It separates the components by principle of adsorption. So the filter paper is the stationary, which does not move. The stationary phase over which the moving phase moves and separates itself. Last one is solvent. It is the liquid which is used to dissolve the substance to be separated. It is generally taken in a beaker. It dissolves the substance and carries the solute molecules ahead for easy separation. So the water in the beaker is the solvent. As the water moves along the filter paper, it takes the colored ink materials, the dye also, and it gradually separates it.